I did was, start getting a diary and start actually putting, okay, this day is for none of that, and this day is for that. I'm going to be busy. I'm going to be productive, and then now I'm not. And putting that organization on top, even though it was the last thing I wanted to do.
Mm. So do you find that when you were like, did you want to do it in the moment when you planned it, and then you got there and you went, no. Okay.
I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do the plan. I didn't want to be tied in. I didn't want to actually put the forethought and the effort into it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I see there's a pattern there and a lot with me in life where things that don't actually take much effort, but I really don't want to do them. But I feel better, and they're the ones that you feel worse while you're doing it, but better afterwards.
Yeah, yeah. I noticed that exact thing. Um, and it's the I think it's a couple of things. For me, part of it is it's what hard do you want to choose? Like, do you want to work really hard and that's a simple example, but like, do you want to work really hard and then that's the hard part? Or do you want to like not do all of those things that are difficult? Like, do you want to not go to the gym and then also not be fit and deal with like the difficult thing that is?
Absolutely.
Um, but I also think sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it's but there's levels to that as well, because one of them was stretching. I need to stretch every day because I was born with club feet, and one of them was operated and one wasn't. And just that stretch. I mean, it takes like 5 stretches. Like what is it? 15 seconds. The
Yeah.
amount of time I didn't want to do that, but do it in that I can walk fine without that. I walk a little bit sort of like a baboon. Um, but then you can go that into jobs, like when you've got a job and it gets uncomfortable and horrible. Do you stay with it or do you jet out? And when how long do you stay with the discomfort? 6 months, a year, 4 years, 10 years. You can learn different levels of things with different levels of discomfort.
Yeah. Do you have a decision? I want to say decision matrix, but do you have a way that you tackle those? Like, how long do you stay in the discomfort?
Um, uh, until it hurts too much. But the what I've used before is can you gather a story from it? Like, so I don't know what it is. You're working at a company. It just feels like just this, the same. And that all the stuff you're going to learn, you can't bundle it up in a way where someone might be in, you could put it into an amusing story or an informing story or something like that. Like if there's nothing more here, then maybe it's time to move on. But then also maybe what story would I want, and can I actually do that here? Because
Mm.
often the job spec that you're handed is not the job spec they actually want you to do. It's the minimum. And you can actually go, well, this is wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. They should be talking to them, that should be doing this. We can change this like this. It's like, well, I could try and do that. And, and because I haven't been told to do it, I can't screw it up because, I wasn't told to do it. But because
There was no plans.
if it starts getting some traction, then you can say, hey, you know, up the chain. Look, this should really thing. There's a little bit of buy-in here.
Yeah.
Should this happen? And so and you got another story.
And you got another story, and you got another. It's interesting because I don't think about the story usually until afterwards, and then I start telling the story, and I go, I find it hard to see my own stories. I can see other people's stories
Okay,
relatively easily,
yeah.
but as far as yeah,
I think it started for me that I didn't understand. I would leave, say, first role I left when I thought the story was over and I couldn't. expand the story. But now looking back a couple of years later, I realized, but I could have done this, 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 and this at that place. And I started to realize the cost of moving actually changes the types of stories you can get, because all of a sudden you have to reestablish new connections in a new environment. Whereas if you stay there, you've got some connections. So then the type of story that is available is quite different, you know?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are more characters. There's more character development, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Interest. I just hit record because I knew that, we would
Great.
fly into whatever we wanted to talk about. But
we do tend to go quite deep,
I know. I love it. I was thinking, when was the last time I saw Dwane? And I was like, I remember exactly where we were, and I remember that we sat down and we talked really in depth. Like, I always really enjoy our conversations.
Yeah, and
it's been a long time.
We both had stuff we had, and I was like, yeah, but there's one more thing.
Yeah. Perfect. I feel like we're on a conversational adventure, and any thread that feels like being pulled, we should pull it.
Right.
But obviously I know you, anybody that listens here, can we give them a little bit of context? How do you tell your macro story these days?
Okay. So, I was 19, in Whangarei. It's a town in New Zealand, 25% unemployment at the time. And my friends from school trying to get jobs, like petrol pump attendant jobs. And my principal of my old school wrote me a letter. No, made his son write me a letter saying, my father thinks you should go to university, go to any school, pick up the forms, fill them out, send them in. Deadlines close like this week. So do this as fast as you can. Call and collect if you need. And the only degree I could find out about was a new degree that the Waikato University were putting out. And I just decided I was going there because I knew some people going there from my school. And it was a Bachelor of Computers and Mathematical Sciences. And there were 7 streams, and one of those was artificial intelligence. And to me, that sounded like what people did at university. So tick off with the form.
Wait,
And
I missed the detail. What year is this?
1988. It was my first year. So it was 1987 when I was putting these forms out.
Okay, cool. I just want to put the AI thing in context because it's been artificial intelligence has only recently become.
This is old intelligence, so it tends to be symbolic, where you're manipulating symbols, trying to extract information out of things. But we did have to train chickens. So we went down to Ruakura, and you get your chicken and you put it in a box, and there's a little light, and, it pecks the light, and you give it food. And then you change the regime that you reward them on. And so, every 10 pecks it gets food, right? So then it just machine guns this button.
Okay.
Then
so it learns it.
Oh yeah, it learns it like super quick, and then does this. But then you change it. So you go, oh well, what if you that's the first peck after 10 seconds. And so then what it does is it just starts just pecking it, and then just every so often it'll look around the box, and then it'll go, and I'll just go peck it again. Might be food, and so that even though it's 10 seconds, it just touches every 2 or 3, and just regularly.
Do you reset your chicken?
Yeah. So this is day by day, right? So what happens is you do one experiment, and then you extinguish the behavior. So then you stop giving it a reward, and then the chicken has to work that out. And there was some time limit that if it didn't pick the key for that length of time, then the behavior is extinguished. And so then you feed the chicken the rest of the food, because it was the food it was going to get for the day anyway. So you don't want to overfeed the chicken. And then you put it back, put it back. And then the next day you come out and you do a different experiment with the chicken.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because you watch people pressing the little button to get the traffic lights, and doesn't matter how many times you press it, it's not going to change. and you get the same thing. Like you just press it, and it's like, it's been 10 seconds. I'll just press it again, like, Um, and so a lot of philosophy courses, a lot of psychology courses, and it was great. It was a great degree.
Yeah. Amazing.
Then, and at the end, a lot of signal processing, so speech recognition. Got a job in the Defence Force doing signal processing on radar. And that was fun because I got to go out on the P3 Orions, which were a fixed wing plane, 4-engine plane, and they were doing fishing patrols around New Zealand. And so went, flew over down the west coast of South Island, through the Cook Strait, all the way out up to the Chathams and back again, like all in one day. And you're flying around at like 200 feet above the sea level, taking photos of the fishing vessels. And I could put, as an observer, so I could put the wetsuit on, the life jacket on, which was heavy. It wasn't, the thing was a heavy thing with a radio and all sorts of stuff in it. And you wander around the aircraft. It's really noisy. And to sit down anywhere, put on the headphones, plug headphones in. You go into the cockpit, stand behind the pilots. And so you go do that. And it's like, I made the mistake of asking, so how tight a turn can you pull in one of these? And it's like, whoa. I rise and just goes like this. My knees buckle, and so I'm on the ground, and they find this hilarious. Yeah. So, it's good. It's some good stuff. And then decided that the stories that's the kind of job I wanted to retire into. I didn't want to. It didn't pay well, and so I'd never be able to buy a house. So I thought I'd try and travel in Europe, and so I quit my job. And walking along the beach one day, I decided, let's stay in New Zealand, look around New Zealand before I trip to Europe. And really clear still day. And the Pacific Ocean had waves about this big, coming in at Takapuna Beach, and walk along Takapuna Beach with a friend, Andrew. And we were remembering these old Coke ads, and they had a big, huge ball, like 10 meters in diameter, and way out at sea, there's an advert for Coke on television. And they had people in swimsuits running around with Coke written on it. And we're thinking, if you were in that now, you could just walk from the sea to the land, and, that'd be just seamless. And I'm thinking, but then the sand, you'd feel the sand under your feet, the difference. So you need it double skinned, right? Yeah. So then, so need a double skinned, and then how would you do that? And came up with some ideas. And then it's like, should we try and build one of these things? So 6 weeks later, we had like one built, we had next one half built. We had we're thinking, well, that's new, right? So, get a business plan, application in for a grant. We had a patent underway. And so that was the start of Zorb. And so then, then that was, we got some, raised some capital, and then,
I love that story.
This business, and
how, can I ask who tested the first one? Like what was prototyping like?
Oh, prototyping was just got some photos. Oof. I think Andrew, was he the first one in the first one? So we thought that the area between the two skins had to be pressurized. And so we did that, and we built it. And like it had taken us a few weeks to build this, like full time, two of us. And then and I'd messed around with a spreadsheet.
And it was see-through? Like you weren't getting inside a... Yeah, okay.
Not clear. It had to be clear, otherwise, no fun. Right?
What's the point?
So, so we had it, and I'd messed about with a spreadsheet for 2 days, trying to work out whether it would self-support or not. I ended up with a ratio, this number of 2, which is a ratio of pressure. It's like, let's just try building it. And so I think Andrew was in the first, and then we decided that there weren't enough ties between the outside and the inside, so we doubled them, and then we doubled them again. And so so I think he was the first one in that one. Yeah, exactly. Trying to roll them out of beaches, hire them out of beaches, because that's what we'd thought. And it took us far longer than I would have liked to work out that no, the economics doesn't work. Throw them down a hill with someone in them, and then now all of a sudden the economics works. So
now it's a ride. Now it's a activity that you can. This is so interesting. You can have like the most interesting, innovative, beautiful thing that is super new, but unless you find a way to like divide it up, to structure it, and yeah,
Absolutely. And with a new idea, it's really hard to socialize it correctly, because either you get too harsh feedback or too gentle, and the idea needs to form and change and grow. Um, there's a book called Creativity Inc. It's how Pixar was making its movies. Though I really like the way they describe the process of creativity in that book, and that was recommended to me by someone who's trying to get that in an organization, which was kind of impressive that they were thinking at that level, and that I like the book as well. Yeah.
okay, interesting. Do you think that the book is still relevant today?
Yes. Very.
Yeah, yeah.
He also
I
he also recommended another one. I think it's called Inside the Idea Factory, and it was Bell Labs. Just how when they invented the transistor and made amazing discoveries, kind of a little bit about how they were made and what the environment was like, and happenstance. Don't underestimate happenstance. There were three guys who would carpool on the way to car share on the way to work, and you weren't allowed to talk about work outside work. But they went, "Well, it is our car, and we're all from work." So thing, and they were um, different backgrounds. They weren't all chemists. They weren't physicists. There was a real mix of skills,
yeah,
and so and someone got assigned and got put in the wrong lab. And, part of being put in the wrong lab is why we've got a transistor today. If that hadn't happened, unlikely two people would have had a conversation, unlikely, just, yeah, wow. Like it's talk to people that aren't like you, that are like you, but not entirely you know,
yeah. You need to have common language, but there's the serendipity. There's an amazing book, and I think we've even discussed this before because it keeps coming up every time I talk to you. I'm like, okay. It's about the Renaissance, the birth of the Renaissance, and how different ideas come together. And if you are all in the same field, you kind of get linear growth in ideas. Think about ideas like atoms, but if you have all of these different creators or all these people from different fields, then their conversations, like ideas bond like molecules, and then you get this exponential growth in ideas. And the name of the book is escape. It's called The Medici Effect.
DG effect.
And like I think that there are so many ways to tell these same stories where the story is true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Different people get to the story in different ways.
It's hard to. I got thrust into a team lead role, so I did a couple of other startups in New Zealand. Wanted to travel. In my 30s, I came over to London, and I wanted to jam my way into the investment banking industry because I heard that's where the money was. And then I was going to do travel from working, and one of them I got thrust into a team lead role, and after a while I didn't want to do it, and then after a while I went, well, if I'm doing it, I'll try and do it. Like I've never had any management training, not any books or whatever, and so I started reading books around this.
Yeah,
And there was one of these books, and it's this person coming to this epiphany, like, they had a barbecue and everyone from work was there. And this woman had children, and he was thinking, her job is so stressful. And she goes home to children every day. And but, and from a total, the scheduling meant that she was always under pressure, always at the end of the day. It was horrific. And this guy goes, look, why? We can rechange that and take all the stress out of that role. And he did, and it's like, and then he got, oh, okay, now what else can I do? And, so I went, well, what pressures and stresses can I take away from the team so they can actually, because they're smart, they're intelligent, they know what to do. You keep telling them like this is the direction, and then they're
Yeah.
smart and intelligent, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to get you need to talk to you because they don't know of that. And it was very fulfilling. It was very rewarding and very
Interesting.
fulfilling. And they did the work, but I felt I was able to let them do that. And that was that was fulfilling. And I catch up with that
Mm.
team every so often with people who are still there. And there's
Mm.
one or two things that I did that are still there. And it's,
Mm.
from a technical point of view. And
Yeah.
it's, they did the work, but and it was intraday releases. So you've got client money flowing through the system.
Yeah.
We did roughly 10 billion US dollars a day. And while that client money is flowing and trades are flowing through the system, we could release a new version of the code. And it's still there. And they could iterate,
Wow.
and write better code, better code, better code, better code, better algorithms, just because of
Yeah.
that. Without that, we could only do about 2 releases a year. And there's just
Because you
no
had to
way.
pause everything.
No, yeah, because you could only do it in the weekend because the system
Yeah.
ran 24 hours a day, 5.5 days a week. And
Yeah.
then in the weekend, there are no prices flowing through. So you don't know if it's going to work. You know?
Oh, so you make the update and then it comes
Yeah,
online
then
on Monday or whatever.
you pray. Absolutely. At 3, 4 p.m. on a Sunday, that's when the calls start coming in, just going, yeah, it's all broken. It's like, oh, yeah.
Oh, no. All right. Yeah, that's when your stress levels go through the
Yep.
roof.
Yep.
So this was engineering at a financial institution.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I did more of that, and I contracted before that and after that, doing those kinds of things. And
Yeah.
then 2017, I decided, well, this is good, but I want more, and I've sort of I've got a bit of savings. So what I
Yeah.
decided to do was go do another master's in AI to freshen my skills, and then try and segue into jobs that needed AI. And so that was a load of fun as in my mid 40s going to University College London in London,
Yeah.
and all these smart, really smart, well-educated people rolling up, all younger than me, and just the really impressed at them, really, really impressed. And there was a group of about 12 of us that I ended up in, and their education compared to what I got from a small rural school in New Zealand was like just wow. Um, and like I've started businesses, and they have opinions about starting businesses, and it's like, how is that so correct? Like you're right on the money there. I totally agree with you. What education have you had? Like their families, their businesses or stuff. And
Yeah.
so a load of fun. That was a load of fun. And then I did another couple of startups, got into a couple of startups in London, and then doing my own thing in an area on reinforcement learning. So yeah. Mm.
Cool. I'm excited to dive into this. I have a question though about
Yeah. Too.
this like hunch that people have, because you can have somebody who has a lot of information, who really has good intuition even about
Yep.
business, and says, I think that this business would do really well if it had this and this and this. Like they can intellectually bring together the pieces. Do you see a gap there between like, and not specifically these young people, but just like that kind of person who is maybe really educated and thinks that they would do really well in business and has good instinct? Is there a big difference between that and actually just going and doing it?
There is, and I think, and so when we were doing Zorb, many, many, many people said, "Oh, I've had this idea or an idea like this," and I
Yeah.
go, "So what did you do about it?" Nothing.
Yeah.
So most people have. There are a lot of really good ideas out there. Really smart people come up with ideas, and the only mistake they do is they do nothing.
Hmm.
And I think that's the most common mistake. The next most common mistake is then falling too much in love with their version of the idea, right? So then that flips onto the other side. So you get the people just do it, just the vision of the idea. And it's like, yeah, but you've got to, it exists amongst people, in regulation, in whatever that it touches. So you've got to you've got to listen to, we live in a capitalist society, so you need it to make money. And so you need money to get money, and you need to make sure that people are prepared to pay money for it. It's not just, it should exist in the world, right? Unless if you can fund it yourself, then you can make something that should exist in the world and then put it out there. But if you need money, then there has to be an element of money comes from somewhere, and really that's the in some ways a horrible bit, but you can actually flip it around so it's not so horrible if you look at why people pay money for things, and it's they pay money if they're in pain and there's a problem being taken away, and then they're really happy to shell out money. So find out who has the pain and who has the money, and sometimes it's different people, so then you need to join that together, and then you can go do it. So what would I say? Would I say your original question was, is there a different, there's stumbling blocks, there's plenty of stumbling blocks. Is there a person that's better than the others? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess the question is like, what is it that stops people? Like, I look at the world today, and we have AI that is very capable of giving, and I want to be careful with my words here because obviously this is your field, but it's capable of giving outputs that are super useful in a lot of cases. And so there are lots of things that you can go and do now just because you have the idea and you can turn it into something. The barrier to making something real, especially in the tech space, for example, is way lower. I guess my question is like, where's the habit formation of what are now the stumbling blocks? Like, why did you guys go and do the Zorb and nobody else did?
Luck, right? So one, we had the idea. Turns out someone in France had come up with the idea 20 years earlier.
Yeah.
Right? But they didn't do it, right? They just wrote down on a piece of paper, and filed patents and stuff. They didn't actually do it. And so the part that is hard is the doing. Really, it's hard. And because no one's done it before, whatever it is that you're doing, and the person doing it quickly becomes the expert in the world, but has never done it before themselves. So then you've got that they need to fit into the world, but they need to not fall too much inside with the dream, but they need to fall in love with the dream enough to push it through. So it's a really odd dance, right? And luck in New Zealand, you can't, if I put you in a Zorb and I throw you down a hill and I break your glasses and I break your arm, I'm liable for your glasses. The government steps in, ACC, and will fix your arm, no problem, right? And so nowhere else in the world does that exist. You can be a traveler to New Zealand and the government will step in, fix your arm, you're good to go, right? In the US, no. You need insurance, right?
Yeah. That's crazy. And thank you to the New Zealand government. Doing a good job.
And also you can't sue for personal gain. So you can't sue me for emotional stress, right? Or I think this is how it used to be. So, it's like, you signed a waiver and, and you knew what you're getting into. And, but I'm liable for your glasses.
Yeah. I don't know if I've seen you since, because I had never been Zorbing, and I went maybe 2 years ago for the first time, and I've had concussions and stuff, so I was a little bit like, I don't know if I want to get in as well, but it's gonna, rattle my brain, super fun.
Oh, cool. Cool. I was worried.
But no, it was super fun. But actually, one thing I didn't realize is that, well, I don't know if it used to be like this, but there's water inside it.
Yeah.
So you slide around it. I had it in my head. And the reason that I didn't want to go, actually, is because I was like, I'm going to be in there and you bounce around? Like you stay on the side? I just hadn't thought it through.
Yeah.
Um,
We used to strap. We used to just tell people to get up a lot of speed and then do a forward roll, and the force will stick you to the side, right? And
yeah.
then a dear friend of mine called Kathy managed to invent the washing machine cycle, which is where you go forward not quite fast enough, and then you get stuck to the side enough to nearly get to the top, and then you fall to the bottom, and then yeah. So yeah. So the way she tells the story is that she got to the bottom of the hill, and then it took ages for us to come get her to fish her out because we're just laughing so much.
Have you ever seen someone throw up? Have you ever seen someone throw up inside a zoo?
Everyone's worried about this, and so, but no one had thrown up at all, and it's because it was slightly soft, and so it actually bends away from you in your middle. So actually, the forces go towards your stomach, not away from it. If that makes sense.
Interesting.
So, and the other thing
Yeah.
we used to do is we used to say that we had a toweling robe. If you do throw up, we put you in the toweling robe and we send you back in to clean it up. So between between those two things and like a self-selecting group, no one threw up. I'm
That's
sure
so
people
good.
might have felt like they wanted to, but yeah.
It's just a hilarious premise that you throw up at the start of the Zorb and then you have the
Absolutely.
washing machine in it. Um, just on the creation and just doing things. A friend, River, and I, River, who was in the first episode of the podcast and kind of prompted this whole thing. I was talking about it, and he was a fantastic person to nudge me. He was like, "Well, what would it take? Like, why don't you just do it?" And I went, "Yeah, you know what? I will." And then there was a little bit more coaxing, but anyway, River and I have been building things, and we've managed to create this really nice space, safe space for just like bouncing ideas and creating things. And we're using Claude Code to like build a couple of things, but one of the platforms is Nature Club, and the idea is a place for facilitators to come together and put any activity that they would like to host in nature. So for a user, it's like, oh, I want to go, and the whole idea is like, people need to spend more time in nature. Spending time in nature, the research says spending time in nature for 2 hours a week has massive health implications. The question here is like around this is obviously something that people would benefit from, but I think that there is, and I see this thread through a lot of different things, that there are invisible costs in the world, and there are also invisible benefits, and especially the tech industry, and maybe this is true in other places as well, quite good at hiding those invisible costs, and it's either that we're not doing a good job at highlighting the benefits of doing some of these things, or that we're really visual creatures, which I know to be true. So anything that is like a pretty bright thing kind of grabs a lot of our attention.
Yeah.
How do you think about this at all? Like the invisible world versus the visible world? Because
I saw it in a different way in relation, I suppose maybe because we're just talking about startups, that one of them is externalizing the costs of a business. So in a book that I looked at, and it was just saying, you want to push as many of the costs onto everyone else, the rest of the population, and you don't want to pay them as the start. And so that I think is quite icky. But I think you were talking it from the point of view of the person in it, and how often the costs and the benefits aren't even articulated. A friend started a camera club here in London, or a camera coffee club, and they used to have it on, we're going to do this, someone's going to talk on this and talk on this and talk on this. And then they worked out, actually, there's enough expertise in the room, there's stupid expertise in the room, just actually have the coffee and the 10 o'clock, and you might do something for 5 minutes, but the rest of the 2 hours, everyone just talks, and it's way more like now, you can't get in because people are just, yeah, I'm there.
Yeah.
And so so the unintended benefits of that camera club were nothing like what they thought it was when they set it up.
Yeah.
And
They
so I
think that
think,
they have to deliver all this value, like, oh, we need a camera expert to come and present for 2 hours. But the hidden
and,
benefit is,
and I've got to find one every week and blah, blah, blah. And, and actually, no, that was actually, so these hidden costs and benefits with nature, like, absolutely. But I used to, another friend used to get a camera and we'd go, taking photos for the day. And I realized that, well, no one's going to look at my photos, and that's fine. And it's like, well, what am I going for? I'm actually going to actually open my eyes. If I've got a camera in my hand, I don't actually need the photo. What I'm looking at is looking for potential photos. You're going, oh, isn't the light on that nice? And isn't this nice? And oh, look at that. And there's someone doing that, and it's like just looking, and it's like, oh, that's quite nice,
yeah, I do this with my camera. I put it in my bag and then I go out. And the fact that I have the camera with me means that I go, ooh, ooh. What kind of camera are you using?
I used to have a bunch of SLRs that are now in a drawer, and I don't pull them out that often. Um, yeah, and I got into lenses and prime lenses and buying secondhand ones that are stupidly clear and whatnot. But
Yeah.
which was nice. There's something about the elegance of a solution, and just knowing that one of these lenses that I had was, I bought it secondhand for £40, and it was clearer than a £2,000 lens. Because we took it into his friend's studio, and we're just messing about with how, trying to work out how do you tell a good lens from a bad lens. And you have a pattern, and you take it at, a particular f-stop and from a particular distance and plenty of light, and you just
Yeah.
compare the photos.
Yeah.
And the digital camera I had was a D350, so not particularly very good, but the lens was, by today's resolution standards, it wasn't very good. But the lens was well beyond the camera's sensor. So you got the full sensor, you got photos as clear as the sensor could take. Whereas the lens that came with the camera didn't even come close to that. You got, 10 pixels by 10 pixels that were just blurred between them. So,
Interesting.
taking all those photos with the lens that came with it, and you're just wasting storage space and clarity and whatnot. And then this other lens, and it's like, yeah, no, now you're actually, photos no bigger, but the detail in it is far, 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 far more.
Interesting. So I don't know if I'm understanding this correctly. You can have a lens that is not as clear and it will max out the camera, basically.
The
Like
blur,
it doesn't.
the pixels. There are way more pixels in your photo than actually needs, because the lens can't deliver the detail,
Yeah.
even though the detail's there in the original scene. And what happens is often you get a blurring between white and black, so that
Mm,
if there are really striped lines, and then
mm,
rather than the black being black and the white being white,
yeah.
you'll get a dark gray and a light gray. So that's one form of blurring that happens in color or intensity, and then it happens in color, and it happens on edges as well. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah,
Wow. I love photography for the simple fact that it turns everybody into an artist, and it's like it's just your eye,
yeah.
they're like different.
And
I think,
the moment that the emotional feeling of that moment and what the story it's telling and what happens next, or what in
yeah.
this photo, what is the story? Is it just pretty, or is it, is there something else there?
Mm, mm, yeah. How do you capture um I like walking around with a Polaroid camera, just like a Instax 12 or whatever it is,
Mm.
like not high def at all. Uh, but I'll see a moment, and it's especially good if the person doesn't know. And I go and snap the photo. And sometimes they see me take the photo, and sometimes they don't, but then I'll go and give it to them, like, hey, we have a moment. Here you go. And sometimes the reactions from that are so lovely. Because, like, you'd never get that. And when people see that you have a camera and they see a lens, often they kind of put on a mask or put on a.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a series of movies, Before Sunset, Before Sunrise, and another one before.
And Before
And
Dawn, maybe?
yeah, and the end of the first movie, there's a whole lot of scenes, and it just goes past where these people had all these conversations. But there's no people there. It's just you've got the memory of the emotion of the conversation, and now it's just a place, but you can feel it. And there was us in Paris in a dinner, and there's a table behind me that all speaking French, four people clearly know each other well, and the energy was just lovely. And then I got up to go to the bathroom, but they'd left and they'd gone outside to have cigarettes or something. But the table was littered still with the drinks and packs of cigarettes and phones and stuff. And I pulled out my phone and I took a photo of it just because it was so, it sort of seemed to capture, they were still there. Their energy was still there. People were coming, but there was been good conversations here. I don't know what they were. I couldn't understand them. Um, and do you know what I mean? It's like, and I was wondering if I looked back at that photo in 10 years' time, which, you know what I mean, will that look like people have been having a good conversation around it?
Interesting. How does the feeling persist? I love this thing about art that somebody. I'm terrible at quoting things. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I'm getting better at quoting things. But it's that art is the best tool we have for sending emotions from person to person and through time.
Yeah.
Um,
So you asked something about is the AI changing AI? And in some ways, I think that's a poor name, but is it changing the types of startups that are there? And I think it is. I think everyone who, you get a hammer for the first time and then everything's a nail. You'll just watch a kid who gets their first hammer, right? Watch it. And so the hard bits now, one is there's going to be a lot of competition. A lot of people are going to be doing the same thing. So then the hard bits of work and business and people is people, and actually working out what people actually need, what they're prepared to pay for, what they need, how to get their attention so that you can find out what they need. Because most people just go, no, too busy, I'm fine, everything's fine, don't bug me, I'm too busy.
and the world is getting noisier and noisier, so it's more and more. There's more and more need to say, "Hey, no, I'm busy." Yeah.
Yeah.
So the bottleneck then becomes the. Is it right to call it distribution?
I would say, yeah, at one level, and then at another level, it's the connection between people. So your awareness of someone in a business or an industry or in a place, and your awareness of their pain and what they actually need, that's the bottleneck. Because if someone who doesn't know of anyone that they can solve their problem is in a much worse place than someone who's got connection with people and actually understands what needs to be done. Because the person without connection there'll be plenty of them, and they will come up with what they think it should be, which will be partly correct and partly not
Yeah.
quite right.
Yeah. I've started to try and solve this because I realized like I would have an idea or two or three a day, and people also come to me with things because they've seen that I've been building things, and they go, "Oh, there's this problem. Do you think we could solve it?" For example, last night, somebody sent me a message and they were like, "Oh, I've been going through this visa application process and there's so many documents
Yep.
that I need, and like
Yep.
it's complicated, and I need to,
Yep.
compile all these documents. I need to know the process. Sometimes I need to write emails to things." And I went, "That's probably not that hard to build." So I'd had a long day. I was going to get a massage, and before I went, I made a GitHub repo. Then I went into Claude Code and I connected Claude Code to the repo on my phone. And I said, "Hey, this is the problem. This is the thing that I want you to build, basically a landing page for this that articulates the problem. And then I want you to use Remotion to like animate a solution to this, like make a smoke screen for this."
Yep.
Then I went and had my massage. It was an hour long. I came back and I like imported the GitHub repo into Vercel, and it got put online, and I sent it to the person. They were like, "Holy shit, somebody's already made this." And I was like, "No, that was me while I was having my massage." So
That is
there's
cool.
this.
That is really cool. Well done.
It's pretty outstanding that this stuff is possible.
Yep.
But because there's this loop where you can go, all right, that's a problem. I could probably build a version of this at least to get to a point where we can have some validation. Then I was like, okay, there's going to be a lot of people like me who have ideas and want to build things.
Yep.
How do we make sure that it's not just me going, "Oh, this would be a cool thing," and I build the cool thing that actually nobody wants?
Yeah. I would say that is mostly what will happen, right? Because people are people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the hard bit is it's really hard to validate an idea. The last startup was, we're connecting to Zoom and Teams meetings and Google Meet meetings on people's behalves. And the idea was to, meeting notes are very hard and very costly to produce. So we wanted a first draft, but then so the official record of the meeting can be more easily made. And this is we were talking to customers, and they were, we're charging them a fifth of what they said they would save a year, and they still wouldn't buy it.
Huh.
And they wouldn't really tell us why. And so it's not economic. Like from economics, like we can delay the payments. So you
can see
save
the
money
benefit before you actually.
Yeah, so it's not it's not the money, and then they still wouldn't do it. So it's like, what actually is going on here, and how do you find that out? And it's the super hard bit with companies. I haven't really done this was B2B. So B2C, there's tools and people and ways of doing this, but I think there's a sort of level of sophistication of how you can answer those questions. And for a problem that's more nuanced or more sophisticated, the techniques won't have as much, be harder to say. But also there's the problem of if there's 10 people who need the product that you just said, and they're prepared to pay, I don't know, something silly, 10 grand each for it, that's all you need. You only need 10 customers. But how do you find those 10? Yeah. So it's a real, and in fact, it's actually even better if it's a small market, because then the big tech companies won't be interested in that market space.
Interesting. So the solution that I built for this, or like the version of the solution, I called it Problem Space. And the idea is that if I can make a marketplace of problems, if I can get people to come and say, "Hey, this is a problem that I have," and instead of doing it the Fiverr way, which is, "Hey, this is the market of people who would like to solve this problem," and I say, "Hey, I'm Ty, I can build you a website." If instead I flip it and get people to say, hey, people don't know how to find me. All
Yeah.
right, that's a problem. Then you can come with a solution. You can be like, hey, this is my solution, attach it to the problem. Somebody else can come with a solution and go, hey, this is, but it's about defining that problem space, I think, or,
And do I want to be anonymous or do I want to be named? So if I go, okay, here I've got a problem, do I actually want my name on it, or do I want to actually be able to post it out somewhere anonymously so that, someone can solve it and then I can use their solution, but I'm not really too exposed for saying my company has this deep flaw inside it that I don't really want the competitors knowing about.
yeah, interesting. Yeah, a lot of it is how visible are we willing to be? How how honest can I be with my problem? And people hide that, right? Like you see it
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah,
sales
yeah, yeah, yeah,
cycles all
yeah.
the time.
Um, and I think this gets in the way of entrepreneurs as well, because we always want to present the best side of ourselves and the best image version of ourselves. And actually, saying, look, hey, I'm trying to make the solution for you. I've made this, but I've got no idea if it's good enough. Can you tell? Like, people don't like vulnerability and don't like it in a lot of the businesses that I've worked in. It's really not. It's not a. Vulnerability is not encouraged.
Yeah, I think we need more spaces like this, both for personal stuff
Yeah.
and also for solving real problems. One of the most amazing moments in a professional setting that I've seen is I'm at this tech startup, and it's not even a startup at this stage. It's got like 500 people in it, big executive team. I'm in a meeting with uh, probably 20 people. Um, the woman that I'm reporting to is like the head of sales. Wasn't really sales enablement, but it was like this function between sales enablement and kind of uh, an elite sales team that go in and do technical sales.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's a senior woman, and she's talking about this strategy, and she goes, "Cool, everybody clear?" And everybody sits there completely quietly, except for one woman, who goes, "No, actually, this isn't clear to me. Can you say it in some other words? Can you like treat me like I'm dumb? Can you be
Well done, that
clearer?"
woman. And was well done, that
Yeah.
woman. Well done, woman. Right. That's hard to say, right?
Yeah, and like this is just how she operated. Her name's Effie, and she's just an awesome human. But I always like think of that moment, and I'm like, oh man, like people just need to be more like this. There's a like really obvious reason that she does so well in her role, because she's brave enough to go like actually, and in all honesty, I didn't know what the
Mm.
person was talking about. I don't think anybody in the meeting really knew what she was talking about. Like there are vague hints of it, but it wasn't clear.
And if you don't have to execute on any of it, like, because 20 people, that's a lot of people, right? So you go, well, I'm not central to this meeting. I don't even understand it, but I don't need to. I don't think I need to, so I'll let it slide. If everyone does that and no one takes responsibility, do you know, no one feels responsible for the thing they don't understand. Yeah,
Yeah.
the person speaking at the beginning feels like the full 20 have responsibility and they now understand. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. Um, can I ask you about, first of all, what do you think is the name AI? What's
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I want to dive
Well,
in here.
okay, cool. Yeah, great. I, uh, it's, artificial. We can kind of work out what artificial is, but intelligence,
Yeah.
we really don't have a good definition of it. And everyone's got their own definition of it. And now these large language models have sort of taken over the term entirely. And there's a whole lot of other stuff as well, like the stuff from the 80s. AI now doesn't have a name that you can call it. And also the other day I was thinking that I was using one of these tools, and I'm trying to change an algorithm away from any algorithm that has been written before. There are a bunch of algorithms in this space, and I was using large language models to do parts, and it would deliver me one of the existing algorithms. And I go, no, and I give it the instruction. And I'd say, look, it needs to work like this. And go, yeah, okay, well, this is, it'd be very sycophantic. Oh, great, brilliant idea, whatever. And then it sort of merged two of those other ideas together. There you go. It's like, no, that also isn't what I asked for. And so they're not intelligent. They're more like, it's more like educated, right? I can ask it about a bar exam in the States, and it will answer. It's kind of like a dumb thing that has been educated like I wouldn't believe. Like, so I can ask it all sorts of stuff, and then it'll miss things. Like, I was talking to a cousin from the States who's a lawyer, and something clause about property law, but it applies there are 6 criteria or 7, and then, but in some states you need an extra one, in others you don't. This one doesn't apply. And she went, I'll ask them this, and in this, the extra clause would pop in and pop out, just randomly, and it's almost like it's been educated really well, but it doesn't know what it's meant to be doing, or what's good or what's bad, and it can fabricate. It will happily fabricate stuff, right? So, as we know, right? Yeah, of course it's boilerplate. It's like, yeah, no, it isn't. So, so the problem with it, so I've got a bunch of, that name is not quite right yet, but it's how everyone is using artificial intelligence now. So that is the term. Yeah.
It's the word that we're using. Yeah. The fabrication thing is so funny, and it's funny to see what like when you're actually working with it on a day-to-day basis. We've been running sprints, building software, and it's funny going from design to production, because I'm doing the production stuff, and my partner will do the design. And some of my feedback is often like, hey, can you make sure that when you're designing, like, let's start with a feature spec, because otherwise, like, it'll come in with like these cool looking, there's this extra button, and the downstream effects of that is, that extra button is supposed to have something behind it. It's supposed to have some functionality. And in the past, before I was like, all right, really strict on this, I don't want any kind of UI code that says that we have this extra thing, because then it'll go and try and build the back-end functionality, and I'm trying to make a simple product. Like, no, don't go and connect to a free API and try and make it, like, sometimes it's delightful because it will go and like build something that I wasn't expecting, and it works, and it's like, wow, this is, and sometimes it's like, oh man, I wish it didn't have that little like trending up squiggle that means that we have to have historical data for the last 5 years so we can do a 5-year analysis on the,
Bingo. And it's what I've started doing is asking them to write a spec. So here's a module I've got. Here, write me a spec for this module, and then you got to check that, and then you change it, and you keep changing. I'm actually starting to store those text files next to the files that are there, and I've got unit tests externally, and I ask. And then I change the spec, and I say, generate this with this new spec. And you look at the code, and you kind of got it, but clearly I didn't specify it closely enough. And bringing new graduates up in software engineering over the years, and often it's a similar thing. They will get part of the idea, but not all of it. And so you have to go back and explain things to them, and go, okay, do it again, do it again. And you've also got to get that piece that they fall in love with their code, and you've got to go, yeah, it's great. You've done really good, but we can't use it. So, yep, there it is. It's in the trash. Done
Let's
again.
start again.
And the learning of that's really hard to learn because people have egos and want to do a good job and have put a lot of effort into this. And so it just being able to gently let people know that it's their effort that's the valuable piece. The actual
Yeah.
code isn't really worth anything. It's the effort and the thought they've put into it and the why and why does it have to be that way? And that's all the hard stuff. And if not, if the business changes its mind today, guess what? It's gone, Um,
Yeah.
and it's heartbreaking. It really is when your code is, you're useless. 3 years work. Yeah. Bye. Um,
Oh, but
yeah, happens.
before you could write code so fast, that was still the case, right? It was just code that you'd really put a lot of thought and effort into.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it still is because there's what I'm working on at the moment, there are parts that are just boilerplate, and then I get the AI to do that. And it can do it way faster and better than I can. And I'd make
Yeah.
mistakes. And there's the stuff that I have to think about through very carefully and deliberately as to information flow and information theory, what signal can get to what, where and when and what order. And there's no way it could do that because I can't specify it because I don't know it yet. I'm working it out as I do it, if that makes sense.
Mm, mm, mm. Are you happy to talk about the stuff that you're working on at the moment? Is it
Yeah.
confidential? Is it?
No, no, no.
Yeah, yeah.
Happy.
I'd
Um,
love to
so,
hear about it.
so reinforcement learning is it's an old, and one of the older, uh, way of AI, and it was an idea of you've got some agent, it could be a chess player, could be someone, it could be a bug, could be a bumblebee, and it's in an environment and it does things and it gets reward, some kind of signal for being good. And then just through that, it learns what it can do and what to do.
Hmm. The
And,
chickens.
sorry? The chickens. Oh, absolutely. And that's where the name comes from, reinforcement learning, because in psychology and training animals and what about, something, Pavlov's dog and the bell, this, reinforced the behavior, and that's where the idea came from, or the terminology came from. And so the problem with this is that you take your game of chess, or you take, okay, yeah, let's game chess. Game chess, you play all these games, the agent is the player, it can try things. So and then you learn a policy that says what to do in any particular situation. So there are a couple of major limitations on this, and that is one, the state of the environment sort of takes the state of the entire environment, and that it's if you change the rules now, and now rather than an 8 by 8 board, it's now a 10 by 10 board, you need to restart all the learning from scratch, which is expensive. I mean, these large language models, $30 million worth of electricity. It's a lot of money, right? It's a lot of compute.
Yeah.
Um, so and now and then it's brittle, so that if you now it's brittle in a number of ways. If I now go, let's play drafts or let's go drive a car, it will forget how it used to play chess. Like if you're updating the same network, it'll forget how to play chess. That's called catastrophic forgetting. Um, and it tends to memorize you can argue that it memorizes the environment rather than is truly general. Then,
Yeah.
so what this is called is the thing that I'm trying to do is continual learning. So in a reinforcement learning environment, make sure that the agent can continually learn, as in that I can start playing at chess and then start swapping it to driving a car and then come back to chess, and it can continue to learn new environments without learning the old ones, so that it can get sample efficient. So humans from the ages of 2 to 4, are learning, is it 9 words a day or a week, and they can hear them once, and with 83% accuracy, use them a week later in context. So one example, right? And so humans often, we're deemed, between 4 and 14 examples of something, and that's sort of normal for learning new stuff as an adult.
Yeah, but it's a
Whereas
tiny sample.
tiny compared to what the computers are doing, absolutely tiny.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I'm just fascinated by that. And so what I'm trying to do is get that into reinforcement learning, which involves changing the framing of reinforcement learning a little bit. And I'm enjoying it. I feel like I'm getting somewhere on it, but there's still a little way to go as well. So I don't know if I explained that clearly. Probably to summarize would be, so you can learn a new game kind of with as many samples as a human in that order, and that you can change the game, you can go to new environments, and you don't get this catastrophic forgetting. And then also a third problem is that I don't need to know the entire state of the universe. The current way that it is done is there's a car parked out behind me on the street. If you move that 5 yards, it doesn't change the way we communicate. Whereas it's sort of in the model, now the state of the world has changed. So what word should I use next? That will upset a model built on reinforcement learning, or might do,
Mhm.
but not us.
Interesting, because we have very specific context.
Yeah, we know how to we know how to ignore information, like for the Olympics, right? The amount of information that we can just absolutely disregard with no effort at all. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have to, because there's so much information in the world now.
But no, you're thinking about it in a slightly different way. I mean, just walking down the street. You can walk down the street and we said about that with cameras before, our default mode is unless it's unusual, we don't look at anything. We just be
Yeah.
totally in our heads, right? Whereas a computer would be taking all of that in and trying to work out, now, is this a threat? Is that something there's a worm, what? Yeah.
That would be going, all right, what's changed in this environment and how should I act differently? It's interesting. It makes me think of, I was following this thought and I decided to ask a model, what's your context window versus mine? And the way that it was breaking it down was like, I have a context window that is, this many characters. It can hold this much information. Your human context window is it's very different. And I'm sure that the AI it didn't capture the nuances of this. So I'd be curious to hear your opinion. But it was talking about like my short-term memory versus long-term memory, and like humans have kind of documented, I can remember a phone number, or I can remember about 7 pieces of information, 5 to 9 pieces of information, whatever it is, relatively reliably. But if you try and make me remember 70 things, unless I have a method for it, I really struggle. So you could argue that context is tiny, although I'm able to operate in this way that is completely different to a large language model.
Oh, you so work in a different way, right? So you can pull something that you haven't thought of for 30 years and just go, oh, there's a thing. And why now? And all of a sudden it's there and it's living, right? So from
Yeah.
the store that you've got is phenomenally large, right? Yet
Did you have any cats when you were growing up, or any animals?
grew up on a farm. So yes, lots of animals, but they weren't pets. Yeah.
Okay.
Wines.
Any of them have names?
Oh, there was Butch. Yeah. So that was a boxer when we lived in Auckland when I was very young. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This idea is just coming to my head. Like, all right,
Oh,
how
yeah.
far
Absolutely.
back and how quickly can you recall information? And I bet you could even tell me like the
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
color of the dog
They
and
were a
all these
brindle
things.
boxer, and they used to got my older brother's rugby ball by the strings and kept running around the yard with it, and would get playful and trip you up. Like you're trying to walk to the shed, and they try and like rugby tackle you, like their feet around your legs. Just yeah, great. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So like there's this complexity of information, and then there's also the feelings of that environment, like that little
Yeah,
tiny story that you tell. I can even feel it. Like we can
yeah,
transmit the information of the feeling of the thing.
yeah.
Like, how do we even get close to that with silicon?
Oh, and at the moment, you've got to program it to ignore all the information, all the camera information walking down the street, and it's the wrong way of doing it. Like
Mm,
we use 40 watts, 100 watts of power, and they're using huge amounts to this. It's so different. It's untrue. Yeah, I've been going to a series of conferences. One of them is called Artificial General Intelligence for the last, I don't know, 10 years. And then another one that's just started is the Californian Institute of Machine Consciousness. And they are fascinating because um, there are some people there who think very deeply about this kind of stuff and very well. And then you get other people who, it goes from that to people who've just I've got an idea about it, and I want to talk to people about it. And the 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 engineered way of doing intelligence, which, as we said, is not a good term, is doesn't even vaguely match really what's going on here. And there are parts of this that we don't understand. Um, there are some computational neuroscience conferences, also workshops and conferences that I've been going to, and I've found it surprising that the length of things that they do know. And so one team was taking an ant, was in an anthill, and they're foragers, and they go out and they find food, and they come back, and they wander out, and they sort of wander away from the nest like this, and they find some food,
yeah,
and then they walk straight back to the nest.
yeah,
And it's like, yeah, that's like 50 yards. You're this big, there's leaves, there's trees, there's logs. How do you know the way back? And so they started picking up these ants and moving them to a random place and recording them. And then they got to the brain cells. They know the genome of these things. They know they can produce the brain cells. They were recording brain cells of these ants doing stuff. I mean, they get in situations with different animals. They'll put a little thing to record the brain cells. They'll stick a little harness on them on a trackball, and then play
yeah.
videos at them. And then you can start doing all sorts of interesting scenarios. And so they actually have got the team was saying that they've got the algorithm and the neural circuitry for ants and similar couple of different species for how they navigate. And they don't know it, but it's plausible and it matches their behavior. So this is which neurons talk to which neurons and how they fire in order for an ant to work its way back when it hasn't memorized every leaf and everything. It knows a little bit about the polarization of the light, so it knows roughly north, south, west, east. It remembers certain scenes at a very low resolution, and it will, go from I know this to then tracking. So I don't know where I am. So then it sort of starts going an S-shaped thing. Then it goes, oh, I know where I am again, and carries on back again. And so in some ways, some parts of academia don't know, and other parts are getting these glimmers of how it's working, which is just I find
Mm,
fascinating.
yeah, that is fascinating. It's also I don't know if you read about a team scanned the brain of a fly and then uploaded it into a fly's body in a simulation.
Yep,
And it went and did fly things. It went and
yep,
ate and cleaned itself. And that is
yep,
just wild.
yep.
Um, the fact that people are doing things like this. But it's still like it's fascinating, but we're not going directly to to the thing. We're not directly answering these questions.
No. And the other thing is, the major difference is we operate on spiking networks. Like, so a neuron hits some kind of potential, fires, and then sort of triggers a cascade of other firings. And then there's an inhibitory nature and an excitatory nature. So they inhibit and excite each other. And the maths model, so this is conference earlier this year, the maths model could model individual neurons firing and how they fired for this particular thing they did. But it couldn't model, tens, hundreds, or thousands of neurons firing, which is how our brains work. So, if I have in a computer, we store a one and we store it in one place, and that's it. Whereas our brains sort of there's a lot of activity going on for a thing. It's not in a single neuron in one single place. And so what the team did was they had this was a mouse. This was on a trackball. They were showing it a video of a bunch of parallel lines that were slowly descending, and then they changed the angle of the lines and changed the angle of the lines. And what they were trying to do is they knew that the angle of the lines, the mouse knew this, and that it was encoded somewhere in their brain, and they're trying to find out where it is in the brain and how it's related to each other. And so they could record different brain cells, and for a single sort of line, they had a mathematical model that would show, look, see, this is how it works. But when you had tens of thousands of brain cells, the maths just doesn't work. It wasn't stable. So they asked an LLM they had the best formula they had all their data, they had charts, and they started asking it to mutate this formula, do whatever, be creative, until you got it to see if it can match the actual data that they got. And they found a formula with a to the power of, but rather than 2, it was to the power of 0.5 or half, or the other way around. I can't remember which way it was. And then all of a sudden, it matches all the experimental data. And someone asked in the audience, said, did you ask the LLM why it made that change, what it thought to make that change? And their answer was, well, we could have, but it would just make it up, because the way LLMs work, it's like it doesn't know what it's done, right? It would be just total fabrication. And then someone else in the audience put their hand up, and they went, and they were saying that this new version of the formula was nowhere in neuroscience or computational neuroscience. No one had ever seen this. It was always the other form. That's what everyone did. A lot of smart people have been trying to solve this. Everyone used that form of, no one ever thought to change this. And someone else in the audience put their hand up and said, no, that form is really common in economics. We use that form of the thing all the time in economics. And so I think this is a nice example of what the LLMs can do, is they're highly educated. They're not necessarily intelligent. That's kind of the wrong word. They're educated. It had read all the economics textbooks. And so be creative. We'll try this, So if humans hadn't found this other version and used it in literature commonly, I don't know if the LLM would have found it, or as fast. So it's because humans did that work. Yeah.
Or it's even just the volume at which LLMs can produce different things, and then allowing the people who are making this thing to say, hey, can you try this and try this? And can you try and figure out how to make this match this? And it's funny too, because when you're talking about the conference, it reminds me of the camera club that you were talking about earlier. Like, yeah, it's good to have people come and talk on a subject, but
it's the questions. It's some of these conferences I can attend, online, but it's the dumb question afterwards. The person who doesn't want to ask the dumb question when it's live streaming, they go, yeah, I'm going to ask this dumb question, but I'll just do it afterwards. And you go, and the person goes, actually, that's interesting. That's very interesting. You cringe at the question, but then you go, actually, no, there is a question in there. There's a really good question in there. And those conversations are just fabulous.
Yeah, and like following the impulse, following the, I need to. There's something about human existence that I think is fascinating, and I'm trying to lean more into this, and I don't have any other way to talk about it but to use the word magic.
Oh yeah,
Like
let's go there. Sounds
just
interesting. Come on, tell me more.
serendipity, magic, something that is like connecting all of these things in the world, that it's that feeling when you're sitting in the audience and you go, I kind of have a feeling that I should ask this question, but it doesn't really make sense and I don't know why. And you ask it, and maybe it's not even the person that's on stage, but it's somebody else that's in the audience that heard you ask the question, and there's a reason that that person asked it. Like, there's too many strange things that happen, at least in my life, to not think that this is a broad phenomenon.
I
Yeah,
think
go
there's
ahead.
two things going on here. One of them is just the way that brains can sync with each other, right? They sync, you put people in an MRI scanner and get them talking about something, and in a good conversation, the brain states sync up really, really, really well. If you do in a choir and then really appreciate live music more since that, and then if you're watching live music and the band clicks and then the audience clicks and everyone, like, that's magical to be near, right? And I'm just wondering, is that similar kind of thing? Is it something about a holiday from my own thoughts? Because now I'm actually more in sync with a group of other people. And it's just, thank you for that. That's just a lovely little holiday. And yeah, I'll go there. And so just a little bit of that. And then a, so then I think the ability to, I've just remembered, the dog, Butch, that reminds me of this, that reminds me of this. Actually, now I've got to ask this question, eh? We have a amazing ability to pull into the depth of knowledge that we've got. And for like a fire chief, like, everyone's sending everyone into a burning building and they're an expert at this. They know this and it's safe. It's fine. They're in there and there. And then the chief just realized it's a documented case, something I read. And the chief just finds himself, they didn't think about it. They're just yelling, everyone out now, everyone out now, everyone out now. Last fireman out, the building just collapses, and it's like,
Wow.
why did I do that? No idea. It's just when people, are trained and have been in an environment and do it, like we pick up signals that are, was it luck? Maybe, right? But sometimes humans just seem to be able to do it, a little bit, a little bit more than luck might suggest. So
So
is there something, maybe, I'd love to get lots of MRI scanners and jam people in them and run a whole bunch of tests. This would be great.
So thinking about the way that you're looking at, is the right word to use LLM? Like when you're thinking about changing the algorithm so that you can
No,
have a more
mine has
context?
nothing to do with LLMs. Mine has something, I'm reframing the classic reinforcement learning algorithm.
Okay.
So that there's a guy called Rich Sutton, and he said that who came up with, reinforcement learning, or has been a big proponent in the last, 30, 40, 50 years. And he's saying these
Yep.
are the current problems in it. This is problems, and he's proposed a path forward to solve them. I'm trying a totally different track to solve those same problems of continual learning, needing to know the entire state where that's just not feasible,
hmm hmm
and so on. And I'm
So
going for
the
sustainability as well. Yeah.
the thread that I'm like picking up on or pulling on is this thing of the fire chief who had this intuition about the building collapsing. Potentially, it's years and years and years, decades of tiny little
Yep.
cues that
Yep.
he picks up on. Is there a version of this that is not the 14 pieces of information, but is actually the tiny, tiny, tiny cues that are very specifically targeted, or the, yeah, I realize asking this
It
question
could
that I'm
be.
in a field that I don't know
No, no,
enough
no, no,
about.
no, no, no. I don't know. I mean, was it the smell? Was it the color of the fire? Was it the noise that he wasn't really fully aware of, a creaking, or like, he couldn't explain it. So, um, it's, it's, there are times when human, um, intelligence, like, another reason I don't like the word intelligence is like, I often doubt whether I'm intelligent. I'm just a bunch of reactions, to things. It's like, really, like, there's not a lot going up here, going on. And it's so, could it just be learned just from, you know, t- something that he hasn't put into words, but he knows it at some level, just not the word level. And, yeah, don't know.
Okay. Well, let me give you my magic, my recent piece of magic.
Oh, yeah,
And
great.
also, I just want to check on the time because you're, you know, I've had you here for a while. Are you all right for time?
I'm good for time. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So this piece of magic is that where does the story start? Um, okay. So thinking about taking action towards things, sometimes the hard part I noticed for me is just that the thing feels uncomfortable. It's unfamiliar. And so I went, okay, I would like to do an uncomfortable thing every day and get a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah,
Just like exposure therapy, and remind myself, all right,
yeah,
I'm fine.
yeah,
And I want to do this socially, so I put it out on my social media. I said, hey, if anyone wants to join a little Instagram or
yeah,
WhatsApp group, let's have an interface where we can every day do something uncomfortable.
yeah,
And we started brainstorming, and part of it was really fun. It was really fun to think about like uncomfortable scenarios. So one of them was just asking a stranger at a restaurant if you could have some of their food, if you could have a chip off their plate or
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can I
yeah.
try some of that? Yeah,
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 exactly. And yeah, it'll be uncomfortable, but it's not the end of the world.
yeah,
And so this is a small group of us. There's about 6 in this group chat, and I'm sitting in a cafe in Brazil, and I look over, and there's a guy sitting next to me at the table next to me, and he has a coffee next to him. And I think, oh, this would be really funny if I asked if I could have a sip of this coffee. And then I started like really feeling uncomfortable about it. I was like, oh, this is going to be so awkward. And like, I kind of worked myself up to the point where I was like, I don't know if I can ask him, but I took a little photo, and because I was having a chuckle, I took a photo and I sent it to the group, and I was like, guys, I'm feeling really awkward about asking this guy for his coffee.
yeah.
And a friend of mine in the group sends a message straight away, and she goes, oh my God, I know that guy.
Yeah,
She is in Portugal
yeah,
at the time.
yeah,
I'm sitting in Brazil,
yeah,
and they met in India like a year ago.
yeah,
And I went like, oh, what the? This stuff is so crazy, and it's not the first time. In fact, this happens to me so often that now I kind of just smile to myself when it happens. Like I'm still astounded, but I'm
yeah,
like, oh yeah, okay.
yeah,
It's another. Friends of mine call it the cosmic tickle. It's like
yeah,
here's a little funny thing. There's no in my mind thing that explains that kind of
yeah.
serendipity.
No, no.
And
I've heard people give really little descriptions around it, and they're saying that you can call it their thing was that you can call it into existence, but not if you get too prescriptive about it. Like, if you get too prescriptive about it, the universe can't do that. But if you go, oh, I want an adventure, then in the next day, sort of their view was that the world then, if you say that out loud, then the world something starts going, oh, yeah, let's start lining that up.
Huh.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, don't know.
Yeah, interesting. I've heard it the other way, that if you get really prescriptive about it,
Yeah,
then it it works, but otherwise it doesn't. It's
yeah.
just funny. It's funny to play with these things and to muse on them and then to see them happen. It's like incredible. Um, I realize that we have a little video audio lag and it's fine for recording, but that means that I think you probably see me talking after I talk and vice versa.
I think so. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Um, can I ask what's been on your what's the most interesting kind of unexpected part of the last week for you?
Unexpected thing the last week. Had to put a cat down, and I really didn't expect that to hit me as hard as I thought that it did. It really knocked me for a six. So she was 15. She's old. She's not eating. She's got a growth the size of an orange in her chest,
Mm.
and yeah, just a little tyke. But yeah, really, really, really knocked me for a six. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a in some ways just a cat, but in other ways routines, little routines that you do. Like, so in the mornings, always fed them in the morning, and every banister down the stairs, they would bump their head against every spindle, and they'd want a chin rub on every spindle, and then you play their side, like sort of like a guitar. And she can walk down fast, but she no. Each step, just sort of wouldn't step onto the next one, and thing, and then and but like stacks of little routines like that, and you'd go away out for the day, you come back, they'd be outside waiting for us, and they would run 50 meters down the middle of the road towards us, right? And then at the last minute, just swerve, like, oh, no, you're not touching me. And then they'd squirm on the ground and stuff. And it's like, just like, what a character, like just an absolute character. And, yeah, just, yeah.
Mm.
That really knocked me for a second. I'm really surprised by that.
Oh, sorry, dude.
Ah,
Um,
it's been a few days now, so I'm getting more to, with terms that it had to happen, unfortunately.
yeah, eventually, but it's still it. Just because things are the way that they need to be doesn't mean that they don't really hurt or really like make us
Oh,
feel.
but the thing, I don't know where I came across this, but you can't lose something you didn't have. So if you feel lost and it hurts, well, I mean, you had something, right? And, the more it feels like a kick, it's like, well, clearly you did have it, man.
Yeah, and how lucky to have that. Like if you can keep sight of that when you're in a
Oh, yeah,
really tough place, that the reason that you're in a tough place is because it was a real thing.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I think it's Charles Bukowski. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Um, he has this poem about style, and he talks about he's talking about style in all these different contexts, and he's like, not many dogs have style, but cats have
Oh,
style in
yeah, yeah,
abundance.
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Agree with that.
you, you see them just doing their own thing. I've got a loosely held belief that cats are essentially dragons. That
Oh,
everybody talks about dragons. They have this like real regal
Yeah.
touch me energy about them.
Oh, yeah. Unless they want to, and then that's fine. But then, no, nah,
But it's on their terms.
totally on their terms. Yeah.
I met a cat the other day, and the owner of the cat was like, "Ah, my cats are really lovely, but they usually don't like men very much." And I was
Okay.
like, "Ah, that's cool." And so I like came into the house and I saw the cats, and I just stopped and I like basically sat down and I
Mm.
waited and I
Yep.
let the cats come to me,
Yep.
and they took notice, and then they slowly came over and they went like, "Oh yeah," and then like within about a minute they were circling me and saying hello, but they needed it to be
Yep.
on their terms.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
Um,
have you jumping back a little bit to the coffee and taking a sip? Did you take a sip? Did you say hello? And did you hear about rejection therapy? Did anyone tell you about this?
I'd love to hear about rejection therapy. I didn't say hello, but I did. What did I do? I took a photo, I sent it, then I put my phone down, and then I thought that it was really funny. No. Then I looked at my phone and my friend was texting and she was like, "Oh my God." Um, and so I turned to him and I was like, "Excuse me, is your name?" And they were like, "Yeah." We're like, "Yeah." And then and I was like, "Do you know this person?" And I don't know why I'm not saying their names, but I'll just
Yeah,
continue
no,
on
that's fine.
this track. And then I said, "Do you know this person?" And they were like, "Yeah, but I know them from India a year ago doing a yoga teacher training." Um, and then they pick up their phone and the friend is calling them.
Yeah,
And so they
yeah.
answer and we're both sitting
Yeah.
there like,
Mm.
"Oh, hi." And she's like, "Oh, good. I'm glad that you said hello to each other because," yeah. So we chatted. He was super lovely, like, got on
Oh,
really well, exchanged numbers, like, yeah.
oh. But
Still
you
in
didn't get
touch.
any coffee, did you?
I didn't. I told him the story,
You,
and it
you
actually breaks the rules of the
yeah,
of the thing.
absolutely. And
Like part
and
of the
the
challenge. Sorry, go ahead.
oh yeah, no, and that's totally understandable why you didn't. But it's the thing was to do something that you're uncomfortable about, and so you did something that you're uncomfortable about. It wasn't what you expected it to be, but you know what I mean. And look how
Yeah.
rich the story was.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and this group, although like the real learning from it is that doing uncomfortable things um is always hard, but the specific thing that you do becomes much easier. So
Yeah,
like
yeah,
one of them, we made a list of things. One of them is bargaining at the supermarket, like bargaining
yeah,
in a place that
yeah,
you're not allowed to.
yeah,
Um, and now if I ask for a discount at the supermarket, like, yeah, I get a weird look. I don't feel uncomfortable about it anymore.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And that was the goal of it, to give you more space to live in, right?
Yeah. And I've also put together a little, basically a web app, that is called Rejection Collection. And
Oh, nice.
it's essentially, I try to make these products like as simple as I can because my
Yeah,
whole like tech thesis is, all right, let's build technology so that we can spend more time in the world.
yeah,
Um, and so this is what was the thing that you asked for? And what was the outcome? And then it gives you some analytics. And the analytics, the idea is like, look, if you ask for 1,000 things, you're probably going to get a ton of yeses actually. But the idea is to try and collect no's. Like we're trying to
yeah,
collect no's. So the goal
yeah,
is to collect 1,000 no's over the year.
yeah,
Um, and that means, asking, I don't know, 3 or 4 things a day,
yeah.
uh, which is not that hard.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. And the one that I saw was someone just came up with them for themselves, and they said, again, get no's. and ask unreasonable things. Go, I'd like, Tay, I'd like to go out for lunch with you, and you're paying. And the idea again is to get a no. You want a no, right? And
Yeah.
and people go, yeah, I'll do that. And it's like,
Sure.
yeah, okay, and so then some of the ideas that this thing had were like, they're all outside my comfort zone, but some of them were way outside my comfort zone. Yeah, it's just reading them helped me just remember that it's like, no, do chip away at your comfort zone, keep it growing. Otherwise, it just shrinks, right?
Yeah, for sure. It does, and it's not a bad thing to be outside your comfort zone. We live in
Good.
a world that is
It's
so
really good, right? When people are outside their comfort zone, they get a bit snappy or vulnerable or whatever. But certainly, what they do get is real. You know, they're there. And it's connection that we want with people, right? We want, you know, if you don't, if you're a bit snappy with me, but not, too much, that's fine. I get to see you, but too much, then it might hurt, but
yeah,
not too, but
yeah.
it's good, right?
It's this thing of the amount that you can grow is in direct proportion to how much truth you can see about yourself, and not shy away, not go, oh no, this is. Yeah.
Ooh, where'd you get that from? Ooh.
It's a good question. This is something that I'm working on, knowing where I got these things from. I'm just gonna turn on my edge light.
Yeah.
I went to buy a light for my camera, and then Apple released a thing where you can just do it on your computer.
No.
So I don't know if this is a my gut says maybe this is a bit raw because of your cat recently. But the thing I was working on yesterday is basically a tool where you make a profile for your pet, and you can put all of its vet thing, you can scan all of this documentation, and then you can chat with this tool. And it gives you reminders for, oh, you need to go to the vet on this day, or you've got the groomers, or whatever it is. And then it's a RAG system, so it takes the vector database and it puts it into an LLM, and it gives you information on the animal. And I was wondering if this is like, if you were going to build something like this for your animals, for your pets, for your cat, what would you do? How would you do it?
Well, unless they're complaining, we don't quite, they're so we because COVID, we're since COVID and all that kind of stuff, we're at home a lot, so the cats, and are they in character or not, and so it's when they wander out of character that you go, hang on, what's up, and you try different, this, that, the other, and then we tend to then take them for a trip to the vet. So it's a reminder I don't think would be something I'd need. And vets themselves keep annoying us with emails and messages and phones and stuff. So I don't think that's something it would really we'd use. Yeah. But
I'm glad I'm asking, because this is the kind of thing. Yeah.
There are people who would, and so trying to find them, and what is it about them that means that this is the thing that they need and would be really useful. It's and I don't think it's me. I think it's more got neighbors who travel a lot, and so their dogs go to, I don't know where their dogs go, but someone comes and picks the dog up and then brings the dog back in and whatnot. And so they have a very busy life, very, very busy life. And so in that case, when I've been very busy, then it is easy to forget about, whatever you need to do on a regular basis. So,
Interesting.
like,
It's,
it's, yeah.
it's also potentially something about cat or pet own. I don't want to say owners, people who live with animals.
Yeah.
But like, if you're attentive to it, if you don't live with animals like me, then I don't think about that I would know the cadence or the mood of an animal.
Yep.
But like, I ask you and it's quite obvious straight away. You're like, oh, no, this is something that I already know. It's information I already have.
Yeah. Yeah. They throw up once a week. If they throw up more, well, something's up, right?
One of the, I realized that I usually do this thing where I will ask the last person that I spoke to give me a question for the next person.
Oh, okay.
And I am just going to spend 30 seconds here pulling the question because now with the tools, I can say, what was the question? Sometimes I'm very organized in this, and sometimes it gets lost in my notes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, good. I remember this now, being excited. And you're the perfect person for this. So,
Well, maybe.
don't worry. And I'd like to caveat this by saying that we can play this game multiple times. So if it doesn't need to be the best answer,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
just
Cool.
whatever answer you feel. If you come across a treasure chest,
Oh, yeah.
and in it you will find every single item that you ever lost in your life,
Ooh.
what is the one thing you'd be most excited to pull out of the box?
When I was about 6, I got a little thing that your little puppet you stuck on the end of your finger, and I'm missing a finger as well. So, and so
Yeah.
6, 7, something that kind of age, and I had one of these things, purple, big bubbly eyes and arms, and I took it to the school to me one day, and then we were doing a play or something like that. So we went down to the assembly, and I've only just remembered this, just thought of this, and get in. And it's on stage, and we're got to do a play or sing a song or something like that. But I come back and I realize I've lost it. And to the point that I get upset enough to the point that the teacher says, well, you can go back and look for it. And so, I go back and look for it and can't find it. And so weirdly, I think of the thing that I lost, I think that's one of the things that I'd be like, wow, that's there. So, yeah.
How did you come
That,
across it?
that's where I put it in the, like clearly the treasure chest.
Not the finger.
Oh, not the, no. Yeah, well, I mean like talk about stupid. I learned the piano for a year, and it took me about a year to work out that, yeah, I'm missing a finger. It's not, you get onto a more complicated piece. It's like, yeah, that's not going to work, really, is it? Like, you need that reach. It's like,
yeah. Have we talked about it? How it got lost?
I lost it in the hinges of a door when I was just learning to walk. So just learning to walk.
Oh,
And then the door was open, finger was there, wind blew the door shut,
the wind blew the door shut.
Yeah.
Wow. That's the story.
No.
No,
I
don't believe it.
remember. So,
Yeah. That's so funny. Have you had any encounters with people where are people awkward to ask you? Because
it usually shocks most people. Often I've been working at the contract and bounced around a lot, and often people would be surprised when they notice it, and they go, "You're missing a finger," and so it usually takes people a while to see it. But then also they've been on teams like in London. like working in IT, it's not a very physical job. And
Yeah.
it's like, and two other people were missing bits of fingers. It's like, like, and it's like, yeah, okay. Is it a requirement for getting onto this team?
That's so funny. I think it's I'm always super curious, and I try to just follow my curiosities. And I think that usually, like, I've had this feedback from someone. I would say like, "Oh yeah, I met a guy and he was missing an arm," and so I asked him about his missing arm, and like there was no malice behind my question, obviously. And they were like, "Oh,
Yeah,
wasn't it awkward to ask that?" I
yeah,
was like,
yeah,
"No, like it's not a character judgment. It's not like I'm just fucking curious."
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's what do I need to not do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then I remember going to the hospital once. What did I do? Oh, talk about being stupid. I was wearing a boxing glove and I punched a letterbox when I was drunk at university because I imagined that movie Stand By Me where they have the baseball bat and they're smashing the letterboxes. Yeah. And I went, oh, this will be good. I'll smash this letterbox. Broke my hand, went to the hospital, and my knuckle was cracked and kind of bent down like this. And I went, "Oh, you can put it back, right?" And they were like, "No, it's just gonna be like that now." I went, "Oh, okay. This is,
Yeah.
yeah. I got one body."
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you're young and invincible and know everything, I miss those days. Um,
Mm.
and you don't realize that, we so don't realize time, right? Um, and so I've just got onto a couple of books recently, and it's about the missing billionaires, and it's why. Um, yeah, I'll do the thing. So 4,000 millionaires in the United States in 1900. Let's just take the top 1,000 of them. So 1,000. If they invested in the stock market and got average returns and had average numbers of children, there should be 16,000 billionaires today. There aren't. So
Hmm.
where are the missing billionaires? Why
Hmm.
is it that people can't hold on to money? And so going back to me being, young and invincible and knowing everything, I think it goes into the book. The book is great. We don't understand compounding, and it's not we don't understand compounding. We don't understand time. When I was 20, I'm going to live forever. I know everything. I know, and it's like compounding and actually how long of life we've got. I, I, I can't hold how long of life I've got in my head. It doesn't make sense. And so compounding doesn't make it's that simple, isn't it? It's
No,
just,
no.
right? No, no,
It's
no.
a
You get it working for you and you end up with a whole lot more money than if you don't. And if you can get it working
mm.
against you, you have nothing. Right? And it's magic. So
It, is there
yeah, yeah.
Are there ways that are suggested to like benefit from it, or is it really just know what things compound and do those, work on those?
Uh, um, uh, it's magic. It is magic. I mean, Einstein said it's the eighth wonder of the world, right?
Mm.
Um, and what things do you say compound? Yes or no?
I mean, time, sorry, not time, knowledge, money, if it's in uh, yeah, if you have an agreement that is based on a return, um, relationships, or yeah, maybe specifically um, reputation is probably the right way to put it. Yeah.
And you've answered way better than anyone else I've answered this question to. Most people just go money, and that's it that I've asked it to.
Mm.
And like, but to get money working, you just start early. You get time working for you. Start early and just do a little bit regularly, and then the compounding takes effect. And the same with other stuff like knowledge. Like, you don't need to learn an encyclopedia. Just learn a little bit and just doing a little bit, just doing a little bit, and time takes care of the rest. It's like the fact that it's more valuable. The next piece of knowledge is more valuable because I've got, you got three, you get another one. That one is worth more than just by itself. And it's, wow, okay, it is magical.
Importantly, though, I think with knowledge, that knowledge has to be correct.
Oh yes, oh yes. And then you end up on that dance again of going with it, but not trusting it, but going with it, but not trusting it. Yeah.
What else? What do you find compounds for you?
I was going to say those kinds of things. So knowledge, for me, save early and save long. We lost the farm when I was about 18, 19, just when I ended up in Whangarei. And so my father had come up to this brilliant investment scheme where you borrow on a piece of land in New Zealand that's marginal land, so it doesn't really make money off it, and you wait for the inflation to take the value of the property up, and then you get another mortgage, and you get another mortgage, and get another mortgage, and use that to pay off the behind interest of the first mortgage. And so we had 5, and we're paying 25% at the end there. And guess what? That doesn't work, right? That's a perfect way to get compounding working against you. And so that's I learned through that the hard way that that's not good. And then I was too adverse to take debt on and too adverse to save, because it's very hard to get good information about financial products, like really hard. There are a lot of people wanting to make money, and so invested, bought in the stock market, lost 30%, did unit trusts, lost 30%. Essentially I was making giving money to other people. It's hard to do that. I mean, now all it's doing is just the compounding. That's it, little bit. Avoid fees, spread across risk. You can't, don't try and pick stuff because you can't. No one can.
Yeah. I remember looking at, so maybe a year ago, I was looking at kind of changing my career, and I was using an LLM to kind of visualize this and think through it as well. And I went, okay, I could try to get a job that is paying a certain amount. Let's call it 200K, good salary. And if I look over a 10-year period, say it goes with inflation, I'll, make X amount, maybe $2 million. Then I was looking at other things that compound, and there are some really intelligent people that talk about this as like, all right, things that, or actually it's things that are leverageable. So like building anything, and that is in code, it's writing a book, it's basically any form of media. And I went, okay, if I make my career about building things, about let's call them performance assets, or like some kind of thing that you build that will make some money, and you spend a month on each of these, or the way that I'm thinking about it with these tools is, and River and I were talking about this today, I've got this website that just pulls all of my GitHub commits and goes and takes a screenshot and puts it on this website. It's like a living portfolio. And I called it 10,000 ideas. And then the discussion was, 10,000 ideas is a lot. Like 1,000 ventures, say. That's a lot of ventures. I think at the pace that you can make things, that's not that many. It's like, it's very doable. Especially if you take the like VC model and apply it to a venture studio, and you say, all right, 90% of these are not going to be anything and nobody's going to use them, but there'll be a portion of them that potentially get traction. And so I was running this model with them. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you get other people involved? Like, so if people have ownership and have buy-in and some skin in the game, then they help that like tool 7 actually be used and morphed into a more nuanced problem that you didn't see at the time, or move it with the times as times change. So at the moment, you're scaling it just the tools, but there's
Mm.
no the people. People aren't getting involved. You're not making, an institute of innovation that is in charge of getting these things out there, or allowing people's greed to get involved and get them out there, or allowing people's good good intentions to get them to places, or um, yeah. So maybe you're scaling really well, but maybe you can scale in other dimensions as well.
Yes. Yes. I'm not doing this yet. I'm doing it in some ways. It's I think the very start, but the way that I see work going these days is that people can just go and build things. Like if you have the curiosity to go and learn how to use AI tools or learn how to use
Yeah,
tools that are available to us, you can just go and
yeah,
make stuff. And
yeah,
more and more, I'm realizing that I want to just partner with people and build things together because I'll see problems out in the world, and I'm like, I want to make a version of this, but I don't want to like build the whole business around it.
yeah.
Um, I do think though that the future of work will basically just be a bunch of people being entrepreneurs in different areas and partnering with each other to have these collaborations. Um,
There are a lot of theories about entrepreneurship and wealth creation, and they go that you need capital, you need labor, and you need entrepreneurship. And I think in some ways this model is being in some parts of the ecosystem or economy, this is getting disrupted a little bit with these LLMs. So the labor cost, or the certain types of labor, the cost of it is dropping, but it's only for certain types. The responsibility, the checking, I, a human, assigning this off, isn't part of that. Like it will just write code and turn pixels and bits on and off. And so so the accountability, the so with this balance, I thought that capital is the money. Since the Bretton Woods Agreement, the world is awash with money. The um, labor, this is really changing the labor balance. So the labor is the stacks of that. So now it's
yeah,
entrepreneurship, and it's the entrepreneurship in that will have to morph as well, because the types of labor and the types of capital that are available, the economics has changed. So whereas before
yeah,
you'd need a company of 100, you need, this many of these people and this roughly, and you'd build a website, and then you build a sustainable model a business out of that,
yeah,
and a sustainable business to the point that you can step away and the business takes on its own entity and will continue to live and hire people as they need and whatnot. Then, so the entrepreneurship part of this has changed. And so, and I don't think, I mean, I don't have a good idea of, I know bits of how it's changed, but I can't see what it would be like in 2 years or 5 years' time. And it might be very, some people will be very mobile and flexible and just be right in the right place as that changes, being able to do the right kinds of things. What
yeah.
exactly they are, I can't quite see, but I feel it's there.
Hmm. I think you're right. Um, yeah, that's really interesting, and I also think that it's moving too fast for humans.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. my biggest problem with all this stuff is it is too
Yeah.
fast. If it doesn't matter how good it gets, if it took 100 years, people adapt. Like people adapt super well and super incredibly adaptable. But too quickly, too much disruption.
Yeah. There's a theory, Martek's law, um, which is just that technology evolves exponentially and humans learn at a relatively linear rate. So you get this divergence. And I
Yeah.
think that that is true. Somebody pointed out that if you're a human and you have a narrow focus at a particular thing, then that you don't get that divergence. But I don't see how anybody could keep up with the rate of change of technology. And like I'm in it and I'm using the tools every single day. And I have mechanisms for like really getting to the core of what is useful. And to your point about people, I have literally a people filter mechanism, a friend, and I created a group of all of the people that are building stuff with AI, and there's like 25 of us, and it's the most information dense place that I can go for this stuff. And it's that all of these people are using the tools every day and then going and learning things and bringing things to this group and saying, "Hey, have you guys used this? Has anyone tested this?" Like it's a fun environment to be in.
And they say for, okay, going back to, human development, to be, if you're brought up in a very enriched environment, on things like intelligence tests, which, again, what do they measure? But, people score far more highly on those. So humans do like enriched environments. It's great, but oh my word, trying to get the needle out of that, right? Because I don't know if you're trying to start 1,000 ideas or one good one first or whatever, and there's five. Which avenues do I not follow today? Which of the five top ideas do I not follow tomorrow? Five top ideas do I not follow the day after? It's really hard to filter. We're good at it,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean it's easy, and it
Yeah.
doesn't mean we're doing it right either.
I'm trying to divorce myself from right and wrong these days. I'm like as long as I'm not harming anyone and I'm doing what feels right to me and for my life, I'm just not
Yeah.
thinking about if it's perfect or if it's like sometimes our conversations when we're building things,
Mm.
be like, "Hey, should we do this and or do this?" And I'm like, yes, they're both right, and no, like no, let's not do.
Yep.
Like let's just say no to both of them. This third option is like, no, what we have is good. Like let's
Yep.
try and focus on
Yep.
the limiting factor. There's just so much. Um, I a couple of things. Um, you have a brilliant way of seeing things, the world, technology, all of this. If you feel like being in a Telegram group with a bunch of people that are using these tools every day, you
Yeah.
are most welcome to, but obviously no pressure.
Thank you.
Um,
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
mm. And uh, can I request a question for the next person that I speak to?
Oh, I get fixed in my ways a lot, regularly, and so sometimes I think, well, what would be unreasonable to do? Like, and it's sometimes just like clean my office or actually go do some exercise. I'm actually wanting to be a petulant 3-year-old right now. The thing that would be unreasonable for me to do would be a grown up and go for some exercise, or clean my study or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, clean a bit of the car out or
Yeah.
something. And sometimes I've done those and sometimes I can't do them. And then sometimes I do something that's more unusual, like more on a longer term, more unusual. And that was like meditation, learn to meditate. It was, unreasonable because I don't want to. I don't know, I don't trust the stuff, but it would be unreasonable of me, myself to do that, like my self-identity. So I'm going to go do it. So the question to the next person is, what kinds of things, are there some things that would be unreasonable for your ego to do, for you, your ego, your self-identity to do? And, um, and why are they uncomfortable to think about?
I like this question. I'm going to ask for some more clarity on this because unreasonable for me has
Mm.
connotations or
It,
um
it it's
is
probably a
yeah,
bad word. It's just what I came up with that I could grasp at that time when I wasn't, not thinking clearly, and it was a strong enough word in that moment. But
yeah,
yeah, what are
yeah,
you,
yeah.
what are your concerns with the word, and what's the
Is it maybe unreasonable is the right framing for it. Is it unexpected?
yes,
Is it like out of character? This is
yeah,
kind of the essence. Okay, okay. Yeah.
out of character,
Unreasonable.
unreasonable for you, for your sense of usualness, your habits, your normal
Mm,
way of being.
mm.
It's not unreasonable
I
as in society's norms. It's not against society's norms. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, interesting that you talk about like that you get stuck in your ways sometimes because I also do, and that word for me is an interesting one because I have seen it as people are very hesitant to say that something is unreasonable. So it's often if you want to frame something that you think is reasonable, framing it in that way. Hey, would it be unreasonable if I had my coffee to go? They're like, oh, no, no, that's not unreasonable, you know?
Yeah. And I think that hesitancy is part of what I want, like the things that I'm hesitant to say about myself that I should do.
Mm.
Because at some level I know
Yeah,
I should, but also at another level I'm hesitant to even voice it because um, it means my ego's under attack, my identity's under attack, you know,
yeah, absolutely. Uh, yeah, you don't even want to entertain the idea of that thing
yeah, yeah, yeah,
because
yeah, 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 yeah. It's just away, yeah. And the first time I wandered down that line of thinking, it's like, I don't want to do that. It's like, hang on, why? That's probably what I should do. And that's like, the more I did that, the more I found it very fulfilling.
yeah, we can do hard things, and the more we do hard things, the better. Oh man. Um, on that note, I think we should.
Lovely chatting. Thank you for listening. Thank you for asking great questions.
Ah, thank you, man. I'm. I'm. Yeah, it's a pleasure, and I feel honored that I get your time. Um,
Likewise.
and I
Like,
feel like this every time I see you.
same. Yeah, same. I feel
Um,
you're good at a conversation because you listen very, very, very well, and you have a lot of knowledge as well. So you come up with interesting thoughts, stories, ideas. You've got a totally different background to me, or not totally different background to me, so that you come in at an angle to me. Oh, I like that.
mm,
That's intriguing. Want to know more? Yeah, it's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Likewise, there's also a certain open-mindedness that we both have that mean that we go, oh, okay. Oh, I'd like to know more about that. Um, I also realized in earlier conversations that I had like this that I would be trying to do a podcast, And I think there's still like an element of there. I'm not completely me, but we'll get there. But that I wouldn't ask the question that I was like actually really curious about, because I was like, that's not a interesting thing. But actually, the fact that it's interesting to me is the only thing that I have to go on. Like, it's
Absolutely.
a reason to do any of that.
Absolutely. Because it's, it's our individualization, that's what makes you you, and that's what makes you different to everyone else. And when I'm, with you, I go, yeah, that's the uniqueness of Tay. It's
Yeah,
good.
Thai.
Ty. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Uh, I am, yeah. Ooh, sorry.
There is no need to apologize. I was talking to my mum about this the other day, and because it's like it's every single conversation that I have with anybody who doesn't know me or hasn't seen me in a long time. It's just what brains default to, right? And I was like, dude, why did you name me like this?
Yeah,
She
yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
no, I didn't.
So you see the spelling of my name, first name, and it's like, really? Really? Yeah.
Especially growing up in small town New Zealand.
The phone is the worst when you have to spell your name over the phone.
It happens.
Yeah.
It's hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
No,
Mm.
really. Um, Amazing. All right. I will talk to you very soon.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Where you are? Yeah.
yeah, I'm in Bali right now. I'll be back in Portugal and London, um, May, June, July. Yeah, my sister's getting
Well,
married in Italy in June, so I'm
okay.
definitely coming back that way. Yeah.
Congratulations to her. And
Um,
if you got time, love to catch up.
yeah, likewise. Um, One logistical thing. This program, Riverside, it uploads to the browser, so it might be 100% uploaded, but if not, just leave the browser open for a little while and it'll.
Yeah, it's 95%, I think, from the thing at the top. So, yeah, I'll leave it. So, thank you.
Nice.
Take
All right.
care. See you soon.
Have a great day. Ciao,
You
ciao.
too. Take care.